The ruins of the metro system in the Capital Wasteland caused me to fall in love with the Fallout series. It was 2008, Fallout 3 had just come out, I was playing it as part of my work, and it was unlike anything I had ever played before. But what really stuck with me was the feeling of bewilderment, déjà vu, confusion I got while trying to explore the labyrinthine metro tunnels of Fallout 3. I would get turned around and completely lost. I would wander the tunnels and metro stations for hours and end up on the opposite side of the Capital Wastelands. It was the feeling of vastness. The feeling that at every corner I was touching something, uncovering something, exploring something, maybe for the first time, maybe that no one else had really stumbled into. That's how big these underground tunnels felt at that time. I know the confusion of the metro system annoyed many players. They hated getting turned around in these doggone tunnels, but it made the post-apocalypse feel dangerous. It made me feel like I was playing a game with the training wheels taken off, that I could make a big mistake, fall into a pit, walk around the wrong corner, venture into the wrong metro station, and there was no pop-up tooltip to help me. No, would you like to play in assisted mode to save me? Every decision I made in these tunnels had consequence. It was a life or death choice. I had to manage my inventory more carefully because God knew when I was next going to venture above ground. I completed a lore series on Fallout 3. I did every quest, talked with almost every character, visited almost every location. But at the end of that series, I was surprised how little of the metro system we ended up exploring. The vast majority of the game takes place above ground. And yet there's this huge part of Fallout 3, something that at least for me was part of the soul of Fallout 3 that we barely got to touch on. And so for this series, we will explore all the metro tunnels in the Capital Wasteland. We'll complete every marked and unmarked side quest, meet every strange and weird character hiding in these tunnels, go over all of the unique loot that we can only find here, and venture from tunnel to station to above ground area that can be accessed no other way than by finding it through the tunnels until we've completed it all. I've been looking forward to this series for a long time, and I invite you to join me. Now, there are some tunnel systems we have already explored, but they're mostly unconnected to the greater ruins of the DC Metro. For example, the Molerat metro station had a prominent role in my series on the Molerat Station vampires. We explored the entire tunnels in that series, so I'm not going to explore them again. And then there's Warrington Station, which was the hideout of the ghouls who wanted into Tenpenny Tower. I covered and explored that in my video on Tenpenny Tower, so we won't cover that again. Both of those stations and those tunnels are sort of isolated little pockets, not connected to the rest of the system. In today's video, we're going to explore another little isolated metro pocket that we have not yet already explored. I decided to create a new character. I'm using the Gunslinger character build by Antilly3Fs, which was published to the Fallout fandom, and I decided to change ENBs for this series. The original game looked good, but I used a tweaked version of the Blackout ENB by Zilandro for the majority of my Fallout 3 series, but for this series I changed ENBs to BLEAK Cinematic Apocalyptia by Demi Deki Dasu. After some testing, this ENB really made the metro tunnels feel even more oppressive. The Drury Street metro system is actually one of the most logical choices to start this series with, even though it's disconnected from the primary DC metro system because it's the closest metro station to Vault 101. To get there, after leaving Vault 101 and arriving on the road, we turn right, follow it under an overpass, kill a couple of critters, wander past a farm, and continue over the hills to the west until we arrive at another road. We take this road north. We pass Brahman on the right, and a tipped-over truck spilling barrels of nuclear waste into an irradiated pool. Here, the road turns northwest. We find a tipped-over bus blocking our path, and an Enclave Eyebot flies by. At last, we arrive at the Drury Street metro station. At higher levels, this is an extremely dangerous spot to find ourselves, for raiders can spawn on the nearby rooftops, and there's even a super mutant behemoth nearby. But at this level, we should be safe. There's a Red Rocket coolant refueling station here, a Dot's Diner, which actually has a role in an unmarked quest that I covered in my video, Night at the Museum of Technology. This is where we went to find Jig's loot. Then across the street, we find a couple of ruined buildings that I've explored in previous episodes. This is the Gold Ribbon Grocers, within which we find an interesting Rube Goldberg machine. I covered this in my second video on the broadcast towers of Fallout 3, and that's because close by we find the Oscar Tango, pre-war communist Chinese radio signal, but as I said, we've already explored all of that. What we haven't done is headed into the metro. We find a sign on the gate, "Keep out, by order of the DC Transit Authority." But they're not here to stop us, and so we can enter. We arrive right outside the ticket booth. Heading inside, we find the ticket booth completely empty. We find smoke and mist coming from the tracks to the east. The bathrooms to the south are blocked up, so we can move east and head through the broken turnstiles. System error, they read. Turning off our light, we can go up a ramp. We see a light on a table at the top of the platform. Dust rains down through gaps of light in the ceiling. It looks like someone may be here, but if so, we don't see anyone. Cautiously approaching the table, we find 2 lamps on it. There's a wooden box here. Inside, we find a bunch of mute fruit, and there's some cherry bombs on top of the table. Turning north, we see that the ceiling has collapsed into a big pile of rubble on this side of the platform. We can't go this way. But turning around, we find that a bit of a privacy screen is in our way. Stepping forward, we see that this section of the platform is a camp. But here, our Pip-Boy picks up activity to the south. Creeping towards the escalator, with my brand new, fresh out of the vault, level 2 character, we find a raider.
Should have stayed in bed today, hero.
Looting his body quickly, we can equip his tire iron and take out another raider that rushes from the west.
You're dead! Dead!
Then, quickly looting her inventory, we find a .32 caliber pistol. We can snag that and defeat a third guy that climbs up from the eastern escalator. And with that, our 19-year-old vault dweller is now a murderer. Well, I say murderer. We'll call this one self-defense. On the picnic table in the middle of this platform, we find cigarettes and a box of bubblegum. After managing our inventory, we see that the raider gear is actually better than the Vault-Tec security armor that we were wearing. Donning it. Oh, look at us. Not even an hour out of the vault, and we're already a waster. There's a toolbox on this table with a conductor and some Wonderglue. We find some tools on a makeshift anvil, and we find the raiders' beds that we can use to sleep if we want. Directly behind us is a copy of Dean's Electronics on a workbench. We don't have any schematics yet, so we don't know how to make any new weapons. Hopefully these will come in handy later. And we find a bottle cap mine on the same table. After looting as much of the rest of the scrap around here that we want, we discover that there's no way out of this platform but to take the escalators that the raiders used to attack us. Taking either of them south leads us to the train tracks. There are a couple of tipped-over mailboxes here, and we find the metro cars still on the tracks to the west. Peering down there, looks like we do see a light. We'll have to explore that in just a second. But going west for now, let's see if we can figure out where this led. We find two signs. One says Friendship Station, the other says Jury Street Station. Alright, so presumably these cars went to Friendship Station. But the state of the Jury Street Metro Station is an absolute wreck. North is a complete dead end. Both tunnels are collapsed, leaving only the southern tunnels left to explore. Moving east to the opposite track, we don't find anything else, so we can move to the tunnel to take it southbound. Soon we come upon a sign. Blue line, northbound Jury Street Station. That's where we came from. Southbound, well, it's, faded. We can't read it. It's something station, so I don't know, maybe we can find a sign more intact to see where this would have led. Lights on the walls continue to the south. But turning west, we find a little gap here connecting the tracks. Looks like raiders slept here as well. On a shelf nearby, we find some Psycho Radaway on the bottom of the shelf, a can of pork and beans, some dirty water, several bottles of vodka, Scotch and Jet, and Medex and Buffout on a table with a still smoking cigar, and then 2 ammo canisters, yay, sitting on the ground next to an overturned chair near to 2 water pipes. And if we listen closely, we can hear that water still flows through them. Continuing west back to the other track, we see that this is a dead end. The southern part of the track is filled in with rubble and ruined train cars. Looking on either side, yeah, we can't squeeze back there. Turning north, we can squeeze around this train car to go back to the Jury Street Metro Station, but we've already explored this. So turning back around, we can go back through that little walkway to the western track and take it the only way we can, south. Soon, we find rubble spilling out of a hole in the wall to the right and a passageway to the left that's completely blocked in with more rubble and furniture. This forces us back out to the tracks that we have to continue to take south. Soon we find a staircase to the left leading to a door. But before we can climb up there to find out where this door leads...
This is bullshit. Come out and fight.
Oh no, more raiders. Turning off our light, we can seek shelter in this doorway. This door leads to the Jury Street tunnels. Alright, we'll have to come back and explore that in a minute, but we have more pressing concerns. Heading back to the tracks, we can loot a fire hose box and then try to find this raider. Oh, there he is. He was just on the other side of that car, hiding behind this ruined train car. We see that a big fence has blocked off the eastern track. If there's any raiders over there, we are a sitting duck peering around the corner. Let's go for it.
I'm gonna tear you up.
Out of AP, brand new character, pulling out the sledgehammer.
Come
Stop
on, boy.
moving around so
Fresh
much.
meat. It's go time. You just...
Oh, and just as I fear, a bunch of raiders on the other side of this fence start shooting. Oh, you doggone stinking things, and I can't get him through there with a sledgehammer. Racing to the raider we killed, there's nothing of use on her inventory. I used up all of my .32 caliber ammunition and my 10mm ammunition. Crap. Well, let's run for it. Oh! Yeah! We made it to the other side. We can find shelter behind one of these ruined cars because there's another fence to the south. Oh wait, I still have 4 rounds left of my .32 caliber. your loot? Come back here, lady. One guy left. We're on the other side of the fence now. Let's try to run him down. Oh. And on his inventory, more ammunition and a Chinese pistol. All right. Well, that was awful. What a nasty trap for them to leave for us. I suppose I could have stealthed by, but anyone who wasn't sneaking would get shot at like fish in a barrel from the raiders on the other side of this fence. We find a small path wedged between this ruined car and the fence, and at the very end, we find a bit of a raider table. Workshop, maybe. Here we find some 10mm rounds, some cherry bombs, 2 more ammunition boxes. One of them is locked with an easy lock, but we can pick it. 2 stim packs, some buff out, and a number of boxes, including a lunchbox. But this path is blocked. So turning around, we can retrace our steps back to that gap that we ran through to get over here. Now there was that door we passed that led to the Jury Street tunnels. You know what, I think I'm going to head back and explore those in a minute. I want to see what's down here to the south. We find the western track blocked in with a ruined train car, and this eastern track is blocked in with rubble. But here we find yet another door, this time in the western wall. Stepping forward, where does this lead? To the Jury Street tunnels. Both doors lead to the same place? Let's find out how. On the other side of the door, we round a corner to find ourselves in a small room with a bunch of pipes hissing steam. But we appear to be alone for now. There is a shelf against the pipes in the center of the room with a bunch of boxes filled with random scrap. Of note, we find some buff out and some vodka. There is a table next to it with some jet and Radaway. Rounding the shelf, we find one doorway out of here. Heading through, we turn right to go down a staircase leading to another tunnel. It appears to be a sewer tunnel or a maintenance tunnel or something. The north is blocked with rubble, but turning south, we find a table with a bunch of ammo canisters. I turned off my light because a flash of red appeared on my compass. We find .308 caliber ammunition in one. We can pick a very easy lock to find more .308 caliber rounds and 5.56mm rounds. And then we find .32 caliber rounds in another. There are 2 boxes here, but they just have scrap in them. The tunnel to the south goes down. Heading down, we see something in the mist. Is that? It is.
This is gonna be fun! You're gonna die!
Creeping forward, we find a lot of ammunition on her body as well as our first assault rifle. I'm hoping to use automatic weapons a lot for this character, so this was a happy find for me, though I'm gonna have to stock up on ammunition if I'm gonna make an automatic weapons character viable. Turning the corner, we find another dead body. The body of a raider we didn't kill. On his body is some raider sadist armor, and nearby is a dead mole rat. On his body is some mole rat meat. I think we know what might have killed the raider. The tunnel then goes east, and here we find another dead mole rat. It meets another tunnel which is blocked to the north, but it then continues south. Moving south, we find a passageway to the east. And down this hallway we do find some movement, but then I heard a noise to the south. Oh, you sneaky mole rats! Okay, so we've got this tunnel to the east. I wanted to see what was around the corner to the south. Heading that way, we find a door to the right and then a door to the left. Moving into the door to the left, we see that it goes around and then down. This must lead to that same room we saw down the hallway just a moment ago. Okay, well, I think I want to explore this door back in the primary tunnel first. So retracing our steps, we see that this tunnel continues off to the east. I wanted to see where this went. It's blocked at the very end, but here we do find 2 more exits. A big break in the wall leading to a cave system, and then a door to the right. least we killed the mole rats. We're getting a lot of mole rat meat. Heading through the door, we arrive in a small room. Turning west, we find more steaming pipes, soggy paper, and puddles everywhere we look. In an eastern nook, we find a bunch of scrap and human remains. And here we find a table. On the table is Ryan Briggs' terminal. It's locked with a very easy lock. After hacking it, we find a number of log entries. We see that the entries are organized in reverse chronological order. I wanted to start at the beginning of the story, so we'll start reading these from the bottom. We could try to access archived entries, but inside we find a copy of entry 87, which is the same one that's in our list of entries. So backing out of archives, we can instead start at log entry number 86. This is the first one in the series. Attempt 86. I introduced a small component of isoprene. Didn't seem to make a difference in taste or composition. I'm not hopeful, but in the next round, I'll increase the concentration, if only because the damn stuff is so plentiful. Oh, sounds like we have a scientist here in the tunnels. In the next one, Attempt 87, the mole rats are starting to get more aggressive. I think we will have to push back our checkpoints a bit to make up for it. I wonder if my experiments with isoprene have somehow triggered their sudden increase in aggression. I wouldn't be so worried about it if I had something to show for it. There's got to be some way to make this meat taste better. Chucky won't shut up about the one he kept as a pet being eaten by the others. I think I'll shoot him. That sort of thing seems to impress these raider types. Oh, so this scientist is trying to make mole rat taste better. Okay. He's been working with isoprene, which has made the mole rats more aggressive. And it looks like in order to guard his mole rat stock, he's employed a bunch of raiders, though he almost sounds as if he isn't one of them. Backing out, we can move on to log entry 171. We're missing a lot of log entries here. Attempt 171. I've noticed positive reactions with base dextrin substances. I'll continue testing different forms to see where it leads me. If there was ever a time for a breakthrough, it would be now. Masquerading as one of these foul murderers grows tiring once the theatrics of it wears off. One thing is true, though. We can all be rich if the experiment succeeds. Mole rat is one of the easiest meats to get hold of, yet the most disgusting. If I can turn it into a viable food source... Next, attempt 172. Quite close now. I'm fairly certain the key ingredient is some form of thermostarch. My next attempt will be using Wonderglue. The adhesive component contains a great deal of the stuff. Luckily, we have a small store of the stuff available here, and I'm offering a handful of caps to the raiders for every bottle they can bring me. Those greasy villains are handy when you've got the money. Well, where exactly did this Ryan Briggs get money to make mole rat meat taste better? But wait, his secret ingredient is Wonderglue? Oh. And in the final one, 173. Attempt 173. I've finally done it! Who would have thought that the simple combination of mole rat meat and Wonderglue would have been the answer? Curing the mixture together in a metal box produces a sort of jerky that is very pleasant to the palate, chewy with a nutty aftertaste. The usual toughness and bitter flavor of mole rat is completely undetectable. Further, I find that the meat has restorative properties. A man who eats a meal of this concoction will find himself feeling positively buoyant and anxious to move about. I'll be able to charge even more for it than I was originally planning. The only thing left to do is set up shop in one of the towns on the surface. None too soon. These filthy raiders have been my bane. And after these long months, I am as destitute as the worst of them. Odd. That's the alarm. Begin memwipe. User-initiated memory protocol. Beginning storage clear. Oldest archives. Well, this helps explain why so many of the archives are gone. Ryan Briggs began a memory wipe of his terminal. So wait a minute then. What triggered the alarm? Was it us? But the last one was a little confusing. He says that he can't wait to get away from these doggone raiders because they're filthy and they've been his bane. But then he says, I'm as destitute as the worst of them. I guess he gave the raiders all of his money to bring him Wonderglue. Well, does that make him a raider now, if he's as destitute as they are? We don't find much on the shelves behind us, but we can leave this room through a door to the west. We arrive at the top of a staircase. We can take the staircase down. It turns a corner and brings us back to that second door. All right, we're back in the primary tunnel. Instead of going through the hole in the wall that leads to that cave that we saw a moment ago, we can retrace our steps to find out what's in this eastern room. Rounding a corner. More mole rats. I guess we know now why they're aggressive. Could Ryan Briggs here and his experiments be the reason that they're all aggressive in the entire wasteland? At the bottom of the stairs, we turn left to move into a large room. On the wall we find a first aid kit, a bunch of junk scattered around and littering the floor, more human remains, and the remnants of pre-war metro tunnel utility machinery. This staircase just leads back to the tunnel. We've done a big loop. All right, that means all we have left to explore is to retrace our steps back towards the terminal, but instead of going right, turn left into this hole in the wall. Where does this cave lead? After a while, it begins to go uphill, and then it leads us back to the train tracks. Oh, we're on the blue line again. And here we see another one of those handy signs. Northbound, Jury Street Station, southbound. Oh, what? The same decal is rubbed out? Oh, we're never going to find out what's southbound, are we? Well, turning south, we see it's blocked in with rubble, so we can't move down there. So, turning north, we round a corner. Ooh, sneak attack. Moving west through this corridor, we find more human remains in a big pile, and one is fresh. It's the body of a raider, and on his body is more ammunition and armor. I'm getting the impression that these mole rats are starting to kill off the raiders. Maybe the alarm wasn't us entering Jury Street. Maybe the alarm was a mole rat uprising. Mole rats attacking the raiders, killing them and feasting on their flesh, then throwing their bodies in a pile. Moving through this corridor, we arrive on the western track. Here we can loot the mole rat we got a sneak critical on, and we see another blue line sign with the exact same paint chipped off here on the bottom. That's a bummer. The south is blocked, but the tracks continue to the north. As we move along them, eventually we find something in our way. What is this? It's a bear trap. Oh, but it's not active. We can try to activate it, but I didn't have enough repair skill to do so. It requires a repair of 55 or higher. And continuing north, we find even more bear traps. I think it's the game probably trying to tell me something. Oh no, who's this now? It's Ryan Briggs! He really was just as destitute as the raiders. He attacked us on sight. He became one of them. All of that genius putting Wonderglue in mole rat meat, and it's gone, wasted. On his body, we find Ryan Briggs' safe key, as well as a wasteland surgeon outfit, which grants +5 to medicine, useful, and a bandana. All right. The character's going to start looking like he fits in. Well, we've got a key. Now where does this key go? We continue to follow the tracks to the north. We loot even more mole rat bodies. Maybe he didn't attack us because he was destitute. Maybe he attacked us because his mole rats attacked the raiders, and then the raiders defended themselves against the mole rats, and then he sided with the mole rats. For we find another raider corpse here. Perhaps Ryan Briggs killed him. Our path to the north is blocked, so we have to go up this staircase into this room to the east. At the top of the platform, we find another dead raider. We didn't kill these guys. It must have been Ryan Brigg. Heading down the stairs, we arrive in another utility tunnel. The south is blocked, so moving north, we find a room to the right, and then it looks like a room to the left, just down there. Well, let's go into this room to the right first. Stepping inside, we find... What is this? Mole rats in cages. And this is... Pumpkin? Oh, it's Pumpkin. Well, I guess Ryan turned one of the mole rats into a pet. There is a table here, and on the table is a blood pack. Here we also find a very rare Nuka-Cola Quantum. And on the table is another terminal. This one is also called Ryan Briggs's terminal, and it's locked with easy encryption. After hacking it, we can try to access it. We find recent journal entries and archived journal entries. If we try archived entries first, we read a bunch of gibberish. Memory corruption detected. Refer to user manual. All right, so backing out, we can try recent journal entries, but the only one we find is attempt number 173, the final attempt that we read on the last terminal. It's the exact same information. All right, so all of the terminals in this system must have been connected to the same network or something. When the alarm was tripped, he did a system wipe. It got through wiping most of the entries on this one, but it didn't get all of the entries on the last one. One of the mole rats in these cages is dead, and we find another mole rat dissected on a table. Around the mole rat is mole rat meat, and here we find a combat knife. On the ground and on a shelf nearby, we find a bunch of blood packs, a couple of boxes, and then on a table next to some Wonderglue and a machine, we find regular mole rat meat, and then on a round table, we find mole rat Wonder Meat. On the shelf to the right is more Wonderglue, and in a box at the bottom we find a Nuka-Cola with random scrap in the other metal boxes. This strange machine on the table is the Wonder Meat Maker. Activating it, would you like to make Wonder Meat? It requires 1 mole rat meat and 1 Wonderglue. Well, we just picked up a bunch of both, so we can say yes. You have created some Wonder Meat. Taking a look at it in our inventory, we see that regular mole rat meat heals 5 hit points, but gives us 2 rads. However, mole rat Wonder Meat heals 20 hit points, while giving us 2 rads. It also has that nutty flavor. Ugh. Well, we picked up 3 pieces, we just made 1 more, and we've got a bunch of this glue left over. We can use this machine to just make a bunch of this Wonder Meat. Alright, we are fully stocked up on Mole Rat Wonder Meat. I'm sure we would make Ryan Brigg proud. Ryan Brigg was carrying a 10mm submachine gun. We have quite an arsenal at our disposal now. Moving around the shelf, we arrive at Briggs's bedroom. We can sleep in his bed, and here we find his box safe. On top of it is a copy of Lying Congressional Style, and we can use the key we found on his body to open the safe. Inside is a bit disappointing. A .32 caliber pistol, some ammunition, 1 bottle cap, some pre-war money, and a baseball. But oh well, we got it. With the room clear and the loot looted, we can retrace our steps, say goodbye to Pumpkin, and head back to the tunnel. We came from there, which means we need to go over here. There is this door to the left. The tunnel is blocked the further we go, so heading through the door, we go upstairs to find the door leading back to the Jury Street station. This leads us back to the train tracks. Now we know what was on the other side of the first door we found to the Jury Street tunnels. And had we gone through this door first instead of the other one, we would have met Ryan Brigg without having any context to his story. I'm glad we went the other way and we stumbled upon his archived terminal first. Gave us a better appreciation of that little operation he had going on there. But the tracks are all blocked up in either direction. This metro station is a dead end. So to continue, we've got to retrace our steps all the way back. But it was still a worthwhile haul. We've got quite an arsenal. We've got better armor. We now look like every other wastelander. We no longer stick out like a sore thumb. This metro station has hardened us. but has it hardened us enough? To find out, be sure to tune in to my next episode. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members and patrons on Patreon gain access to a private members-only channel on my Discord server, and YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and access to ox emojis that they can use in the comments and the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.